Left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders. What's good, everyone? It's your boy Nazi with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. And I got the legendary, yes, I said legendary, George Carmi back on the live stream. George, how are you doing tonight? And thanks again for coming on.
Of course, man. Great compliment. I definitely appreciate you being here. Now you're good people, man. So I love working with you. So glad to hear talk some DC sports, man. Happy to be here.
Yes, and if you guys did not catch our previous stream on the channel, George Carmi is a DC sports writer, editor for Full Press NFL, and host of the Full Press Commanders podcast. So again, George knows his stuff, and I'm glad that he's on the live stream tonight once again. And we'll have a lot to chat about with regards to the football team. But I want to first and foremost talk about two other teams in the area that have been making a little bit of news this week. So first and foremost, the Nats, right? Clinched the worst season in franchise history, just a mere 3 years after winning a championship in DC for the first time. Also clinched the worst record in all of baseball. And I have a friend who's a big baseball fan. She's a Dodgers fan. She makes sure that I know that the Nationals clinched the worst record in all of baseball.
Definitely a rivalry there for sure, man.
100%. Yeah.
So to touch on that, Nadi. So basically, my wife's grandpa is a huge Dodgers fan. Always rags on me all the time. Whenever there's that summer series of the Dodgers versus the Nats, he always comes up here in July. We watch the game together, and it's crazy, man. I think there was one point over the past 10 years. We were like the second winningest franchise in all of baseball. We were such a dominant, like hallmark of the league. We were the gold standard. Then we won the championship. We kind of fall off during that whole COVID season, and look at us now. We're unrecognizable. All the main stars are not there anymore. So it's crazy.
Yep, Juan Soto gone. I mean, we have some good young players. CJ Abrams is here. And we also have Joey Meneses, who at age 30 had a pretty good season for us. I think he actually put up better stats than Juan Soto since the trade, which is kind of crazy to think about.
It is crazy. I saw that too. I saw that.
Yeah. I mean, is there any hope for us in the future for the Nats? We might have new owner.
Yeah, might have a new owner. Yeah, right? I mean, it's all about those prospects. And we basically shipped Juan Soto for a lot of upcoming prospects. We got some potential pitchers and catchers that could potentially play. We got a young shortstop, I believe, from the trade as well. So it's like our team has some upside, but it's like it is so deflating, right? Like for me, like when I'd go to the Nats, like I loved it. That was my favorite. What's that, man? That was like my favorite pastime during the summertime. I just go to a game, grab a beer, watch enjoy it. And it's like all my favorite players, Trey Turner, Max Scherzer, Juan Soto. I actually have 3 jerseys upstairs. All 3 of them are no longer on the team anymore. So that's including Bryce Harper. So it's really up and coming. We have to shed that Corbin contract. I said albatross and the whole salary cap.
Oh my!
And then Nadi, I don't know if you read that Washington Post article about Steven Strasburg. Did you see that at all? It's crazy.
I saw that. He might not even play next season.
I mean, and the MLB is fully guaranteed contract. So like for him, it's prudent to stay on the roster to kind of get that free healthcare and get that free rehab. But he's legitimately sucking all of the money out of our cap. What's up, Hawk? Shout out to FBC, man. So yeah, so it's tough. So like I love what he did on World Series MVP, but both of those contracts aren't producing and they're killing us in regard to what we can do. So it's tough, man. How are you feeling?
No, I agree. Shout out to Hawk TV for being in the chat. Nazi, like I always say, can't spell national without Nazi.
I love that. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. I love the Nats, but man, what a terrible season. Juan Soto being traded, I was pissed about it. I made a video on the channel. I was really pissed about it. I know you were pissed about it. A lot of fans were pissed about it. But in terms of stats wise, the Nats didn't necessarily do terribly after that trade with CJ Abrams, with the Joey Meneses, but long term, we'll see. Maybe Juan Soto might come back in a couple of years when he's a free agent, especially with his time in San Diego and not starting off really well.
That's true.
Fernando Tatis also has been suspended. So this is not the San Diego Padres experiment that we thought and Juan Soto thought was getting this year. So I don't know, man. CJ Abrams is a good player. We have some good young players on this team. But then again, you mentioned the contracts. Contracts. Steven Strasburg, who might not even play next season, if you guys did not hear. Patrick Corbin.
Corbin's been awful, man. He's been the killer for us. It's like he's not even like average. He's below average awful. He's an awful pitcher. So it's been horrible to watch.
I'd argue he's one of the worst pitchers in baseball.
I agree with you too, man.
Yeah.
He's a guaranteed loss when he takes the mound. And it's like to provide context to your listeners, Steven Strasburg, man, it was a crazy whole rehab. I feel bad. He basically like had a rib removed. He had a muscle removed from his upper shoulder. He doesn't have that power anymore. There was talk about, he couldn't even flex his hand at certain points. Like he's never going to play baseball again, even though like we want him to and be optimistic. He's never going to play baseball again. So the worst we could do is kind of let this contract roll out. I don't know much about salary cap maneuvering. I don't think you can. I think it's all guaranteed in MLB. So we just have to deal with him there. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, man. I will say this about the Nationals. I will say this. So for as much talk, and we'll get to the Jonathan Allen comments a little bit later, but for as much talk as people like to say about the Commanders fans and how we don't show up to games and, like we're a bunch of front runners and all that, I think the Nationals are a perfect example of what we're missing from the Commanders in terms of the fans and stuff. But also, the Nationals have sucked the last 3 years, right? Two and a half, if you want to include COVID and everything and fans not being in the stadium. But really last year, how many games were sold out? There were a lot of games at Nats Park that were sold out. I know some of them were because of the Ryan Zimmerman retirement and all that.
Yeah, that was a fun game too. I was there. It was fun. Awesome. Yeah. Were you there, Natty? That was a blast.
No, I was not. I was not. Man. I'm glad that you got to get that experience, though. That must have been crazy.
No, it's real cool. And to kind of touch on that a little bit. So I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a bar called Salt Line. It's adjacent to the stadium. It's right next to it. Salt Line's like a seafood place right on the waterfront. It's awesome. It's cool. It's expensive, but it's like, crab legs and beer and whatever it is. And basically before the game, Ryan Zimmerman bought every single person a beer. You walked in and said, thank you. Actually kept it. I have it in my room upstairs. It's pretty much like, thank you for the memories. Have a beer on me, Ryan Zimmerman. So actually I have like a memorable card that he has. It's pretty cool. So it was a blast there. That's where they partied after the World Series event. So it was pretty cool.
It's tough. That is tough. Hawk TV here with the comment, young guys we acquired. Mackenzie Gore, Josiah Gray still on the roster. Didn't mention him earlier. He's supposed to be an ace for us, but I don't know. I don't know if we have one there. But yeah, man, like what I was trying to say with that point though, with the Nationals point is that, they've been losing, but the fans have still been showing up because of the fact that we don't have, albeit the Nationals have only been around since 2005, right? We don't have decades or even years of sustained losing from the Nationals like we do with the Commanders, right? So I don't think it's just us losing that is contributing to the Commanders. Like in terms of losing, I mean year by year, us not showing up to games. I think it's just because of the fact that we've been in this for 25, almost 30 years now of sustained losing. Yeah. And especially young fans out there, we don't really have a lot to cheer about when it comes to the football team. The baseball team, we have some players. We have the memory from 2019 and stuff that's still with us. So I think we got to talk about that a little bit more.
No, 100%, bro. I definitely think it's definitely apathy. I think it's hatred towards the owner. We got to be real about that with the Commanders. We're always in the news for the wrong things. It's kind of hard to carry yourself with pride as a Commander fan. Like we talked about it offline. Like I love being a Commanders fan. Like I love the friends that I met through the experiences. And I think that's what's keeping me together with fandom, the community that we've built here. You and I, other people that we talk to, it is fun to kind of communicate with people. But like, we're in a Nats cap around the, around the cities, kind of hanging out. Everyone's like, a Commander suck. I kind of talk to you. It's like, there's no positive vibes coming from there. And, it's also, taking, being objective. It's just, having the stadium inside DC is a big thing, man. It's a summer vibe, man. And right around there, like, that whole, what's it, Navy Yards standpoint, man. They have that the bullpen. We can pregame beforehand. It's right off the metro. There's a whole bunch of nice bars there. It's just a summer scene. And like what a lot of companies do is they give out complimentary tickets to like their employees to go have a Friday afternoon, which is actually pretty cool. So like that's why I'm always pushing the Commanders back to DC because I think it'd be a cool vibe and kind of thing to do. But hopefully the Nationals bounce back. And as you said, they have recent success. I think people kind of have that like positive nostalgia for them. So it's definitely there.
For sure. The other DC team that I want to talk about a little bit before getting to the Commanders is the Washington Wizards. They started the preseason over last week. They did acquire guys like Monte Morris, Will Barton, Johnny Davis, the rookie, who I was not high on before we drafted him, and I'm even less high on now. But I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis, for as long as Porzingis can stay healthy, which, I mean, I don't know. It hasn't been too long on previous stops, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts? Gafford is there as well. Like,
it's tough. The Wizards kind of are like constantly in rebuild mode, and that's the kind of the hardest thing about the Wizards. Like, I love them. I've always loved them. Like, I don't know if I ever told you this. I actually had season tickets back in the day. Like, I love the Wizards. Like, I was so lucky. I had Wizards tickets during the whole Gilbert Arenas era. It was a Gilbert Arenas, Cron Butler, Anton Jameson. I loved watching them. And then we went into John Wall and, the whole Death Row Wizards. Those were so much fun. I love watching them. That was sick. And then now we're here. It's like we have Bradley Beal, Porzingis. We have, Kyle Kuzma. We have people that they're like role players, but they're not necessarily like going to dominate. And I like the NBA. It's fun to watch, but at the same time, it's like it's such a top heavy league. Those teams that are super good, it's like you have to have all-stars.
Like the Cavs.
Exactly. So it's like, the Wizards like, all right, we're going to be, where are we going to be? Like in the 8th, 9th seed, 10th seed again, kind of floating around there. We're going to, have been in the lottery maybe next year, something like that. Get another, get a bad ball balance and get a 10th pick overall, something like that. Like we always do. It's kind of where we're at unless we make some serious moves. And, I don't know. Like I love Bradley Beal, but I think he's more of like a Robin as opposed to a Batman. I kind of think he's a high scoring player, but I don't think he's necessarily a guy that could dominate the game. And Porzingis is, the unicorn. I don't think he has that like element to raise a team up. He's a good like third piece, with another, like we need one more all-star on the Wizards to be something legit. And I don't know where we're going to get to that point. And our draft picks are always like high floor guys, but not high ceiling guys, as you mentioned. So that's kind of where we're at. So that's my perspective. What are you thinking?
Yeah. George, you obviously know about my thoughts on the Commanders, and everybody out there knows my thoughts on the Commanders. Yeah. And a lot of people going to the season called me pessimistic, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, you guys don't know what pessimistic is like for me, because I'm even more pessimistic about the Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards are, you touched on this, always in the worst place to possibly be as a franchise. Yeah, man. They're always bad, but they're never bad enough to get a top 2, top 3 pick outside of, years ago,
John Wall,
Bradley Beal, and then John Wall, obviously in 2010, I believe.
Yeah.
They're the worst place to be as a franchise. The team, in my opinion, is not well constructed at all. Ted Leonsis, for as much as we credit him for what he does with the Capitals, and who knows, he might even own the Nationals soon.
Oh man, I don't want that to happen. I know too much power to somewhere. I don't like that.
I know. He already has Monumental Network that just bought NBC Sports Washington as well, so he has all the media rights pretty much. Like he's accumulating an empire for sure in DC.
100%.
But yeah, man. And then for Bradley Beal to be one of only top 10 players all time to have a no trade clause in this super contract that he just signed, $250 million. I mean, what are the Wizards doing, man? I'm sorry. You mentioned Bradley Beal's a Robin. You don't give a Robin $250 million.
You don't, man. You don't.
You just don't. Good franchises don't do that.
And Beal's smart, man. He's financially smart. He's like, dude, you know what? Like, I'm not going to win here, but I'm going to get paid a lot of money to play here every single year. So that's kind of the perspective.
Yeah, last couple years. He signed short-term contracts on purpose.
I know. Yeah, he's smart, dude. He's financially smart. He's set, like he's chilling, got young kids and, happy wife, happy life. But at the same time, is he trying to win? I don't think so, like big picture wise. So it's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, man. So off of the Nats, who are terrible right now, although they did win a World Series in 2019, the Wizards were always terrible. But we got the Commanders, right? Obviously, the football team, the number 1 team still in the area, despite all these losses they've accumulated over the years. What are your thoughts on the start of year 3 for Ron Rivera? 1-3, right?
Yeah, man. So I'm like my whole thing. I always try to be honest and objective, right? Like even though I'm a fan, I really just want to keep it real. It's disappointing, man. This is not what we expected, right? Like I thought potentially we could be, I guess, you know what? Let me take a step back. It is disappointing because of the actual visual product on the field. Like we are not looking good, right? I thought we would come out maybe 2-1. I thought we'd beat the Jaguars and the Lions and lose to the Eagles realistically, and probably lose to the Cowboys, right? So 2-2 is probably my vision for the record going into the year. But we're 1-3, and it's not even a good looking 1-3. Like it's been like an ugly, like I caused like an ass whooping kind of 1-3 over the past couple games. And it's like, I've been charting it, I follow this like religiously. We've only been up, like winning over the past 3 games for 5 actual minutes of game time over the past 3 games. So like, like I know it's hard to say this, but like over a month, that's 3 weeks. So for over the past month of like watching football on TV, 5 minutes, like during the second quarter, we were up 7-6 on the Cowboys. They came back and scored the next drive, and we've been down ever since. We never had a chance in Detroit, never had a chance in Philadelphia. So I think that's disappointing. I think the investment into Wentz, even though I was actually kind of lukewarm, then I went forward, then I'm kind of pulling back a little bit. I think that's also discouraging because it's like, hey, we've invested heavily in a quarterback. We hoped it would be well, but we're starting to see negative results already. And then finally, we were hoping that the rebrand would kind of spark interest and kind of spark like fandom and kind of excitement. But like, we didn't even get 1 month of fun. It's like, just like we walked in, second week, got smacked in the mouth, and we're not already starting to feel negative like already. So it's like that whole rebrand, that whole like refresh, reset isn't really, pulling out too well. So I mean, it's a negative right now. And I'm an eternal optimistic person. That's what I'm trying to root for, but it's tough right now, man. How you feeling?
Yeah, Hawk TV here. Coming to the season, we spent the 3rd highest money in the NFL on offense. Yeah, man. I mean, George, I'm pretty sure you remember from the last couple of times we talked about my thoughts on Carson Wentz, and I know there have been some people who post on Twitter, like, I would never be that person that talks about how like I'm right on certain takes, like when it comes to this football team, like what are we doing? What are we doing in this franchise? And I hate, like, I understand that, but when you've lost for so many times, right? When losing is all you know about this franchise, sometimes the only thing you can talk about is your takes. And the thing about me with Carson
Wentz,
we gotta
win somewhere, right? Gotta win somewhere.
I know, exactly. Carson Wentz, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but like I said this throughout the offseason. I mentioned how I was not high on Carson Wentz. I thought that he could be serviceable for some games, but for the most part, it would be a failed experience in DC. And so far, it's looking like that, right? I'm not saying you can't turn it around. Last year, you mentioned the optimistic, right? Being optimistic. Last year, I think the Colts started 1-4 or 1-3.
They won like what, 9 in a row or something crazy, 7 in a row.
Exactly.
They run it off, yeah. So
exactly.
That's definitely Sorry, to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen in a year in DC. I'm not predicting it to happen, but it's still within the realm of possibility that it does happen.
It is. And like, just kind of touch on that a little bit. And people might disagree with me or whatever, but I view Carson Wentz very similarly to Kirk Cousins. I know people kind of like, I don't know if people kind of agree to that or not, but basically they have to have ideal conditions in order to thrive. And anytime there's like a change in a variable or anything that kind of bad happens, like a bad offensive line protection or something doesn't work well, that's when they kind of flounder. And I kind of see Wentz there. I think Kirk Cousins. Go ahead. Let me just finish off. I think Kirk Cousins is more consistent. I think Wentz has more like physical like attributes, but I think honestly, if Carson Wentz had a strong offensive line, I truly believe he could like dice people up. I just think that like he isn't mobile anymore, so whenever there's any pressure, he's going to be under. Like he can't create on his own, so that's where he gets flustered. He does hold on to the ball a little bit, but like the Jaguars game, he had a lot of time, 4 touchdown passes over 300 yards. He was dicing them, dude. So. The one sliver of glass half full, because I try to be positive, is that we played the Lions, who just kind of has a crazy blitz package. We played the Eagles, has a good defensive line, and then the Cowboys, one of the best pass rushers, Micah Parsons, is going to probably win Defensive Player of the Year this year. And we're basically there are 3 strong pass rushes against us. So maybe I think our offensive line is going to be bad, but maybe it isn't as bad as it looks. So we'll see how it goes as the Titans.
Yeah, I wanted to mention here, Redskin 007. We about to go on a win streak. I hope so. Just like Hawk TV in the chat. Redskin 007 also says the Titans have the 28th rank. Okay, so I get it. The matchup looks nice for us, although we are likely going to lose Jahan Dotson this week, if not next week as well. And Curtis Samuel is dealing with an illness, although I think he should play. We'll see. We don't really know the severity of the illness. But my thing about this is, didn't the Lions have an atrocious defense and we only started racking up points in the second half? The first half we went over.
So I think right now, statistically, the Lions have the number 1 rated pass, like points per game offense in the league, and the 32 points per game defense in the league. They have the worst defense in the league altogether. The only reason I'm even saying that the Lions might potentially have a good pass rush is I think they know their deficits on the defensive side. Like they know that they only have Hutchinson's like the only like true threat they have as a blitzer. So they've run a lot of like zero blitz packages where they're like, you know what, like we want to get in a shootout with you. We're going to blitz the hell out of you, and if you beat us, you can beat us. So I think, you talked about like, the hot takes that you're confident in. I saw the Lions blitzing the hell out of the Commanders, and we were losing that. And I was like, you know what? The Lions are, it's a copycat league. The Lions showed the league this is how you beat the Commanders. You blitz the hell out of them, and then you live and die by the sword. You're probably going to get there, and if you don't, maybe they'll beat you. But we just haven't cracked the code. They're blitzing the hell, they're rolling the dice, and they're winning every single time. So that's what's going on. Like everyone just blitzing the hell out of us and daring our offensive line to protect them, and it's not working. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm not scared of anybody on this Titans defense. Although Jeffrey Simmons, I mean, with his reputation in the league, what he's done in the league thus far, I mean, he's on the defensive line for the Titans, and our offensive line has been struggling, to say the least, over the last couple of weeks. That's a little worrisome. Kevin Byard is a good free safety as well, but I mean, there's nobody really outside of those two guys. Although with our history, it really only takes one defensive player to wreck our entire game.
We're about to give someone player of the week right now. So
I mean, So, but I think it's gonna be a tough matchup. But just to wrap up our thoughts on the season thus far, very disappointing. Even for someone like myself, who again was called pessimistic in the offseason, I did not predict us losing against the Lions. Although I thought it was gonna be a very close game, and we should not take the Lions. We should take them seriously, especially because another hot take, Amon-Ra St. Brown was someone who I was hyping up throughout the offseason and mentioning as someone that could be, next up in the NFL at the receiver position. And he's shown that thus far, even with the injury over the last couple of weeks. But very disappointing. We'll see if we can get on a win streak. We have some winnable games later on the schedule, but even before then, we'll be playing the Packers. We'll be playing the Titans. We'll be playing some tough teams, or at least have been tough in previous years. So, yeah, that's tough. But Dave in DC coming rapid fire with the comments here. So the X factor that bothers me this year more than years past is how terrible our offensive line play. I mean, we went from, at least statistically by PFF ratings, one of the best offensive line. Yeah.
And I actually tweeted this out earlier today. Now, I don't know if you saw, because we're all busy, but it was like we went from having Trent Williams, Brennan Sheriff, Morgan Moses. We had all, we had some solid offensive line pieces, and then we basically, I guess you have to cut corners somewhere when you get a high-paid quarterback. But I think they kind of overestimated their coaching, and they got these two retreads from Carolina, and neither one of them are really that standout. Like Norwell's, I guess he's not really an eyesore, but at the same time, it's like Turner's getting cooked, and it's like we have a lack of talent on the offensive line, and just can't really, there's no way around it, really.
No, I wish I could have retweeted your Trent Williams tweet a million times, because I'm all for the Trent Williams love.
I love Trent Williams.
When he was here, especially after he's gone and people started trashing his name.
Yeah,
saying, oh
my
my
people
gosh,
were on
he's
this.
such a bad person. Yada, yada, yada. He is the generational talent. You said that in your tweet. He is the generational talent that we literally had walked through the doors of
and
Ashford.
He loved it here for a while. He was our representation, man. He was our captain, and it was awesome, man. So Live Wire, what's up, bro? He said our offensive line is very C average. You're a great grader, man. I don't know about all of that. So that's that's a huge curve right there. That's like E minus, dude, F plus, dude. We're real bad. Our offensive line is horrible. To be honest with you, I came in it's tough to watch the game because our offensive line is just no offense whatsoever. It's been hard to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah, sup everybody in the chat. Dub family, Dave in DC as well. Yeah, offensive line play is the worst I can remember. That is the first issue. Although, I mean, let's talk about it. I mean, Carson Wentz holds on to the ball for a bit now. Remember last year, the Colts offensive line, although they did have some injuries, he contributed to some sacks out there in Indy as well.
And it's kind of following him, right? So I don't know if you remember, Nadi, but a couple of years ago when he was on the Eagles, he basically there's 50 sacks basically against his offensive line. Obviously
they pretty much have the same offensive line they do now, right? Minus maybe.
No, they stock pretty good though. The Eagles line's pretty solid. Yeah, they had a couple rookies and stuff, and like Taylor Dickinson and a couple other people. They're probably a pretty good offensive line, but it's tough. Like our offensive line, I do think he holds on to the ball too much. That one play, I'm sure everyone remembers, everyone's a big fan of this in the chat, where Micah Parsons kind of blew through Logan Thomas. He was coming after Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz rolled out of the pocket. He could have threw the ball out of bounds, but continued to run, but then he threw it. It was an intentional grounding. That play was iconic to me because it just showed you that he doesn't have that I could turn the corner speed anymore. He was lumbering, kind of it wasn't a very. You could tell that he's Matt Ryan speed, like Tom Brady. He wasn't very athletic. I was like, oh crap, like if that's going to be the case, then that's what we're going to see. So it's tough. I hope it can be better. It's just disappointing because I feel like there's got to be some more to this, more nuance, right? Like, why is our offensive line so bad? Is it the coaching? Is it the scheme? Like, can we work around it? And the disappointing thing is that we had a good run game last week too. We actually were doing pretty well with that. So I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah. And again, Trent Williams love. I love seeing the Trent Williams love in this fan base now. As the years pass, right? I feel like a lot of people, and this is the same thing with life in general, right? They're realizing they took Trent Williams for granted. Mm-hmm. Yes, he missed games with injuries. Okay. Yes, even in San Fran, he's missed game with injuries. Yes, he was suspended, I think, a couple of times, once or twice, something like that. But for the most part, his time in DC was amazing at the left tackle position.
Dude. He's our boy.
Exactly. And I just love seeing it.
And I don't want to be a fanboy or anything, but how tight would it be to have a black 71 Trent Williams jersey right now? That'd be so fire, dude. It was sick. And he was an ultimate athlete. He's blowing up people. He would punt. I hated Richard Sherman when he's on the Seahawks. He freaking mushed on that one time. Exactly. It's awesome. I love it, man. So he was an alpha, and he's leading the 49ers. I mean, whatever. He has a sprained ankle now, but that's one of the hardest positions in the league. You're hitting someone every single play, so it happens if you have some injuries. It's all good.
Yeah. And he was the best player in football last year again, PFF for a lot of people's rankings. But yeah, it sucks again to see him. Speaking of Trent Williams, I mean, his replacement Charles Leno was good for us last year.
Yeah,
he's been shaky. I know he did some good things against Micah last week. We got to give him his props, but he's been pretty shaky to say the
least. He has, and I'm always objective, always real. I love him. He's a good person. He donates to charity. His wife's pretty on top of things too. But it is what it is. He gave up a couple of sacks. I believe it was him against the Lions where they basically he got beat pretty soundly and gave up that safety to the Lions as well. So I'm not saying he's the problem. I think Cosme's kind of have been up and down. He's been.
We all thought he was going to break out this year.
Yeah, I thought he was going to break out this year. He hasn't really been playing that well. Our right guard, I think it's kind of funny. Sadiq Charles is the savior, believe it or not. And it's kind of funny because we've been tracking Charles for a while now. It's just kind of funny that he was supposed I don't know if you remember, Nadi, but he was supposed to be the replacement for Trent Williams. We traded Trent Williams on draft day, and then we took Sadiq Charles. Now the home run pick because he was falling in the draft, and then he hasn't done anything for a couple of years. And I guess maybe his better position is guard for him, but it's tough. I mean, we have to kind of wait and see, and hopefully Brian Robinson brings some balance to our offense, and hopefully Carson Wentz stops seeing ghosts. Because I actually like Carson Wentz, but I think he's rattled now, and I think it's last week against the Cowboys, he was pressured a lot, but then at times where he did have free time, he kind of felt pressure and was inaccurate. And I'm afraid it's going to be like that. How many balls
did he throw high, George?
Yeah, high. He always throws high, but then there was some in the ground too, and there's just some that were inaccurate. It was he was a rush, and he basically it was tough. So hopefully he settles down and we figure some things out. We just kind of see how it goes.
Yeah, and for everybody that talks about how offensive line last couple of weeks has sped up the clock in Carson Wentz's head, that's why he makes the mistakes that he does. But that defensive teams, they game plan for that because they know they can get in Carson Wentz's head to the point where he does make mistakes like this over and over and over again. This has been the theme the last 3 years, really, if we're going to be honest. And the good quarterbacks, the top half of the NFL type of quarterbacks, bounce back, and we saw that bounce back in week 1. But I said this, I was excited about the Jaguars win. I was hyped on the live stream after the game, but I kept saying it is the Jaguars. It is the Jaguars. And I know they put up some tough games against, some good teams in this league. But at the end of the day, they are the Jaguars, right?
And, I challenged you and I challenge all the fans and people that are watching. Take a look at quarterbacks, right? It's just so funny. Take a look at quarterbacks and watch how they maneuver the pocket, right? I was watching Jimmy Garoppolo the other day, and it's just funny because Jimmy Garoppolo, there was rumors of him coming to Washington and things like that. I'd rather have Wentz. I think Wentz has a more physical talent than Jimmy Garoppolo, but what Garoppolo does is he actually he manipulates the pocket. It was when Trent Williams was gone. I guess it was the Rams they played recently. They were just getting blitzed. They were, Aaron Donald's coming at him, and he steps into the pocket. He lets the defenders fly by him. He moves up and then throws over them. Carson Wentz will keep dropping back and kind of put more pressure on the tackles, and they'll sack him and kind of he doesn't do them any favors. And I'm pro Wentz, but it's he needs to kind of step into the pocket, use that little advantage to let the ball rip. And I think that's kind of something that we maybe have been used to. We saw like Heineke scramble and kind of get out of it over the past couple of years. We've seen Alex Smith get rid of the ball quickly. Maybe like it's just funny seeing a different dynamic. And when you actually watch quarterbacks around the league, it does visibly look different when Wentz is dropping back on the pocket than other ones. So it's interesting.
Yeah. And last, I guess, take that I want to give to you guys about the quarterback position, and this goes into the quarterback on another team, but I'll say this. So the two takes that I'm happiest for myself, over my history of making takes. So number 2 is John Morant being a better NBA player than Zion Williams in 2018.
Yeah, you know that one. Good for you.
Yes. And then I think this is even better. I had Jalen Hurts as an MVP candidate this year. And how silly does that Jalen Hurts versus Carson Wentz discussion? Yeah. My guy Rio. How silly does that look now? I'm just saying. I
was drinking the Kool-Aid too. I actually have, for my channel, I basically have a video and I was ranking the NFC East quarterbacks, and I put Carson Wentz over Hurts. But I'm a fair person. I gotta give Hurts his flowers, man. He's doing what he has to do. He was a mobile quarterback. He always had those leadership traits coming out of Alabama, going to Oklahoma. He has all those great traits. It's just now it's all right. Could he put it together? Could he get that passing technique down? And I think he got it, man. I think he's on the right path, and we'll see if he can sustain it for 17 games. But he's looking good, man. More power to him. And to be honest with you, I'm envious. I think I like having a strong arm quarterback, but I love mobile quarterbacks, man. I think mobile quarterbacks is the new wave. I think it's not even the new wave; it's the wave. You need someone that's mobile that can, the Kyler Murray types, the Jackson types, or even Josh Allen. When they're blitzing you, can you get out of the pocket? Can you create? And we're missing an element because we don't have that mobile quarterback. Like Carson Wentz, conditions have to be ideal for him to throw behind an offensive line. If the offensive line breaks down, it's not going to work, and that's kind of that's deflating to already know that about a month into the season, Yep.
And I mean, we had to see the vision, man. We had to see the vision with Jalen Hurts. I mean, the Josh Allen trajectory, we just had to see the AJ Brown acquisition, the defense being one of the best.
Malik Willis could potentially be one of that guys in the future too. I know he's kind of he's a provocative one, but dude, sitting down for a year, kind of figuring it out. So I don't know. We'll see. Those high upside guys, man. If in a pro system, pro coaches, quarterback coaches, you can definitely develop over time. So you never know.
Yep. Livewire Sports and Entertainment. I mean, I would be down to
let me know
your
what
stream
time
or whatever. Yeah, for sure. Appreciate the support. And now we'll get to my guy, my favorite pick in the draft that I said right after.
I like to too. I was high on it. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Oh, also before getting to this point, I'm not going to act like I haven't made some terrible takes as well, right? I mentioned the top.
I want to say not he's a freaking magician. He's a magician, man. Super smart.
No. I made some bad takes. I mean, I thought Terry McLaurin this year was going to be.
We thought he was going to blow up. He took a step forward.
Yeah.
I thought Logan Thomas was going to have a big year with the Wentz. He's kind of been slow so far, so it's another one. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, let's get to my guy. My Bama Roll Tide, Brian Robinson. So, I mean, he's a month and some change.
I think almost 5 weeks. Yeah, 37 days or something like that. It's what I've heard. Yeah.
Since getting shot. And he is back, in my opinion, to take the mantle, the running back position in DC. I think, he's going to have a big role for us. But, I mean, what are your thoughts on Brian Robinson coming back? How big an impact do you think he will have on our team? And do you think it'll be enough of an impact for our offense to really get going and for us to win some more games?
I do think so. I think it's going to create an element, right? I think what Washington wants to do, it's been kind of ugly with our defense over the past year and a half, to be honest with you. But I think Washington wants to be a defensive-minded team that wants to punch you in the mouth. They want to run the ball. I think we kind of got we kind of bought, and even the coaches bought into Carson Wentz hype and being a pass-first team. And I love passing first. I think that's the future of the NFL. I think you kind of have to go that route. But I think Brian Robinson can he can save the team. I think he can create a favorable matchups and positive game script. It'd be 2nd and 5, 2nd and 3, and he'll get some couple carries, and then we can do some play action off of that. We can throw the ball, or hopefully we can play a team where it's the defensive line is very weak, 20th in the league, where he can just feed him the ball 20 times a game. I don't know how long it's going to take for him to get there, but like, it's a good 1-2 punch. If you have Brian Robinson going in there, then Antonio Gibson. Last week they kind of mixed McKissick, Gibson, Jonathan Williams together. It was like, and then it was a pretty effective run game. So I think if you can kind of lean on that a little bit, like, you never know. One drive you come out, empty set, just slugging the ball one time, and the next series you're having a run game. At least you have options, And I think Gibson dances around a little bit too much, and I love the guy, but I think he does create positive plays and negative plays. But Brian Robinson will always keep the game. Keep the team moving in the right direction. So I'm excited. I think it's gonna be fun, and I hope the fans get behind him. I think they do. Like, he's kind of like a cult hero now, because people wanted him, they're excited about him. It's a tragic story that happened to him. It's also like triumphant that it's coming back. So it's pretty cool to see him come back.
Yeah, I think the entire NFL is rooting for this guy after everything that he's gone through over the last month and a half. And of course, we already liked him even before then. He was named the starting running back on the depth chart in the preseason. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see Brian Robinson do some great things for our offense. And like you, I think he could be a game changer on the offense. It would have been nice to have him on the field with a Jahan Dotson and, a healthy Curtis Samuel. We'll see. Curtis Samuel might still play, but Jahan Dotson likely being out. It would have just been nice to see what the offense would really look like, right?
Yeah, firing all cylinders. Exactly. Yep.
Exactly. But it is what it is, and yeah, I'm excited. B-Rob, Antonio Gibson. I see Antonio Gibson more as a pass catcher. We might see that this week with Jahan Dotson being out, right? Like he might do some more things as a receiver. Maybe
That's
in
true.
The slot.
Yeah. And then an underrated story, and maybe I'm too tough on him, but Dax Miller, man, I don't want to be a hater. Like, him as a kick returner offers no upside, right? He's a very, if anything, I told him to catch the ball and take it at the 25-yard line. He doesn't even do that. He doesn't even do that. That's what I was going to say. He killed me after the Lions game, and I actually got in a couple arguments online. He tried to take it out, tried to flip the game, because we were down early off. It was 15-0, whatever it was. It was a 15-yard line, 17-yard line, 16-yard line. I'm like, dude, if you just don't even touch the ball and let it bounce out of the back of the end zone, it's doing a better job than you taking it out of the field. I don't want to be mean to that guy, but come on, dude. You're putting us in negative situations, and it was bad. So hopefully Antonio Gibson can offer a spark, and we have no punt return game. Our special teams on the return game is awful right now. So maybe he's back there. We'll see.
Yep. Thoughts on Jonathan Allen's keep that same energy comments that he made?
I didn't take it as negative as other people did, and I want to talk to you about it. It's funny because, I talked to Rio. I don't know if you caught Rio's video. Rio was going off and going crazy about it. I liked it at first because I was like, you know what? I want some guys to have fight on my team. I'm sick of people being a pushover and stuff like that. I didn't catch it as a fan. I didn't catch it as a call out to the fans. I didn't see that, and maybe you did too. And I like to learn from you. I think for him it was kind of his own standard. He's like, you know what? We've been playing like crap. I'm not going to take this. We're going to turn it around. So, if y'all hate on us, we're coming, kind of thing. That's the way I kind of perceived it. So, I was like, you know what? That's tight. I'd rather have a player that basically is not going to be pushed over. So I kind of saw it as a positive way. And I even said it. I was like, oh, good job, Alan. And people were people calling me a D rider. I don't want to cuss on your show too much. George, you're a D rider. And all that stuff. What's going on? And then everyone started saying that he was calling out the fans. I was like, oh man. I was like, I don't see it that way. So how'd you feel about it, man?
I'll just say this, and for context, guys, keep in mind Jonathan Allen's my favorite player on this team. Hyping him up for years, even before the 9 or 9.5 sack season that he had. He was one of the top 10 pass rushers by PFF the year before that. He was a great player for years before that breakout year, right?
Three good years in a row.
So I'm just having that here as context, right? But even then, I don't necessarily hate the comments that he made, and I also agree or sort of agree with what you said, George, in terms of maybe what his intent was. But in my opinion, it was just unnecessary. And Jonathan Allen knows better. He grew up in this area. He knows how tough this team has been, right, for his entire life.
Yeah.
So, it was just an unnecessary comment. We're down 1-3 in the season, 1-3, and we're about to face the Titans, who are not an easy task up ahead.
Yeah.
I get what he's trying to go for, maybe motivating his teammates and stuff, but I just we don't need more of this added scrutiny, media scrutiny, fan scrutiny on this team, right? With everything going on. So that's just my take, right? I get your side of it.
Yeah.
If I'm leaning one side or the other between you or Rio, shout out to Rio, great another amazing content creator in our community. If I'm leaning one side or the other, I'm probably leaning towards your side. But at the end of the day, I still think it was an unnecessary thing, like to say. You didn't really need to say it. And I mean, we already heard this from Bobby McCain last season.
I was just about to say that. I don't want to step on your toes. I think that's the only knock. That's where like there's a hole in the armor, right? Where like you want to root for John Allen, but at the same time, it's like, dude, we've been hearing the same damn story for years and years and years and years. Just the last year, you guys are talking like we're going to turn it around, whatever. Like, so it kind of came off as like false bravado. And like, if you actually watch, all you guys that are watching, if you peep the video again, EB, like, even though like, EB is always negative, he's like, okay, yeah, gonna whatever. He was kind of like hating on the comments instantly. It's like, dude, like we heard this before. And that's what he even asked him. He's like, what does that mean? What does that mean about you guys like, keeping energy, cheering loudly? Like he was like calling him out because he's sick. Like we all like, it falls on deaf ears if you hear it every single time, right? So it's kind of where we're at. So I can see that perspective. I like John, so I think I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, at the same time, it's like, dude, all of us have high expectations now. We want something more from this team, and this is a horror. They're not even like we could be 1-3, but like competitive. We have been competitive in the past 3 games, and that's why we're so negative. We're angry because it's like, dude, like we're paying good money. Like I'm a season ticket holder. I'm going to these games like just unhappy for 48 minutes because it's just an ugly game. It's just awful, dude. Like I'm going on Sunday, so I'm not going on a rant right now. I'm going on Sunday. I took my wife, like, she all these off-season events and stuff, and she was like starting to get into the Commanders, like buying Commanders gear. I'm like, this is tight. Like, about what, my girls in the game, this is fun, or all that kind of stuff. And like now it's like, dude, like dragging her to the games. Like, look, these suck. I don't want to watch. Like it's not fun. Like we're missing opportunities to build a fandom, and it's not cool, man. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
it's tough, dude.
It's just like, it's amazing that she's going with you and like you guys have a great time. And then like you have the flip side of once it's not even an if, when we start losing, like, you know, the morale just goes down. And it's just, it really, like, I don't think non-sports fans really understand how much that brings down like us, like throughout, like, at least for me, like I'm in school and stuff. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's something that I keep in the back of my mind. Not really in the front of my mind, because if I did that, then I wouldn't be able to focus on anything.
I'm with you, bro. I'm right there with you. Everything you're saying,
100%.
Yeah, you and I, content creators, put in work. Like we've been like freaking like March, like doing the draft, and we're kind of like scouting players and talking about it over summertime during the dead of July where nothing's going on. We're into it, and it affects your mood. And it's like, I think I've seen it for a longer period of time, so I can kind of like compartmentalize a little bit better. Like I don't like angry people with people or anything, but like I'm thinking about it, dude. Like I put it on the radio, I'm driving around and hear negativity. I want to go on my phone, negativity. Just it's not fun. It's not cool. So I have it bounce back, man.
Yeah, I know this is not necessarily the
Sweat.
Okay, we'll talk about that. But I know this is not necessarily the greatest thing to do as a content creator, but I just learned, last couple of years, I just can't, especially like 106.7. I can't listen to radio, can't read up Bleacher Report articles about this team after they lose, like, especially if it's a bad loss, like the first couple of days after that. Like, I just can't. Monday, Tuesday, I'm sorry. Like, I got to keep my mind maybe on fantasy football or something, maybe NFL, general NFL news, but I can't. And you know what sucks the most is whenever we lose against the Cowboys, they talk about on First Take, and because I watch a bunch of First Take, and you see Stephen A. Smith with the jokes, and it's just
you're better than me. So I'll be honest with you, like I don't watch 106.7. I don't listen to ESPN 980. I don't listen to First Take. Like I'll read John Keim. John Keim's awesome. I'll read the Washington Post. Oh, sorry, Washington Post, read ESPN, and then I listen to podcasts. I listen to a bunch of our guys. I love them. Like I want to plug them. I guess probably hype up another podcast is the Craig Hoffman, Logan Paulson one. Like I was never like. I'll be honest with you, Craig Hoffman kind of comes off kind of pompous to me. I'm not gonna lie, but Logan Paulson is fantastic. And if you actually, he's like X's and O's. He's like this is why things are working. That's kind of what I'm interested in. So I learn when I listen to that. So that's definitely something fun. Like that kind of like gives me bigger scope, like nationally, like NFL. Like I'm watching what's going on here. I can apply to other places. So that's kind of my perspective. Like stay away from the junk TV, dude. That's what you gotta do. That's exciting.
But I think and I talked to Abdullah, another content creator on this channel, about this, because he's like, how do you watch? It's basically his thing is like, how do you watch First Take? Like, how do you take Stephen A. seriously? He makes me like. I learned a long time ago, I'm not watching to be informed about my teams by watching. even more than that, to be entertained. That's like true. I just love sports and like entertainment, and I don't know. I find him funny, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like it's part of my daily ritual. I'm not gonna lie, like I get through classes, I do my homework, what up, yada yada yada. If I have a little bit of time, I literally go on ESPN on YouTube, look up First Take clips, see if there's a good amount of views on them, and then click on the ones, or if the topic is interesting, and click on it. I'm serious, like I don't know. Maybe I'm a Stephen A. Smith stan. I don't know. Like I'm about to get his book, like his book that's coming out. I'm about to read it. Like I'm that kind of person.
No, do what you gotta do, man. And honestly, it's funny. Like you and I kind of have like similar paths. We have like pretty good jobs that we're working towards and aspiring towards. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I actually was a journalism major in college. I started off as a journalism major at University of Maryland. I was an aspiring writer. I actually wrote for a while, like out of college. It's like I turned to education, but like this is a good balance for me. Like I have my profession that's making me good money. I have a fun little hobby that I'm doing with the sports content creating. I make a little money with that too. But it's just fun, man. It's a great balance, and like sometimes I wish, man, if I could turn back the clock and if I I would went hard into being sports journalism. It was so much fun. It is so cool and just fun stuff to talk about. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, I agree. And last point on Logan Paulson. I mean, we've had him on the channel before. He's a great human being as well, on top of being a great analyst. And the one thing that I'll always credit him and Julie and the entire team for, man, I cannot, and you know this.
Accessibility.
Larry Michael was, and also when Larry Michael was the chief in town and had his own Redskins Nation, all that, bro. I cannot tell you. I'm gonna say it. It was like he was a Redskins propagandist. Like 100%, literally, they can go wrong. Dude, yeah, 100%. Even beyond, like the only time I would ever hear anything negative about the command or the Redskins at the time was if JP Finley came on and gave some good reporting and like talked down about like. Literally, it was all propaganda. And then now you have Logan Paulson sometimes, mentioning players that are not playing well. Like the little things like that for me, as someone who loves objective, like maybe not like completely objective, right? Because I watch a lot of panelists and, a lot of content creators and stuff. Yeah. But I love the like taking this team, looking at it from the outside looking in while still being a fan. I just, that's my lane. That's my lane. And I love what the team is bringing.
I agree with you, man. And that's another thing. Like I know, like you and I, Natty, we've both been kind of lucky in getting more exposure and we were getting to kind of see things behind the curtain a little bit, which we never had that opportunity before, which is awesome. And you get to realize that these people are actually pretty good people. They're trying to do the right thing. They know they're like, they tell us kind of like whispering, like, hey, we know things have been crappy. We know things aren't really going well. We're trying our best. So you're rooting for them. That's why it's like there's a lot of good people and positive energy going into this rebrand. That's a sad thing because like right now, like I tweeted the other day about Brian Robinson. There's compelling storylines about this team, but it's hard to buy into the team because the on-field product is so bad. So we got to turn it around, man. We got to start to bounce back. So we'll see.
Appreciate that, Livewire. Really do.
Appreciate it, bro.
I really do. And I hate because you just mentioned the negative energy around this team. I mean, if we continue losing, this is my last question before really just talk about the Titans. But if we continue losing, will we see a coaching change, a quarterback change? Like, which do you think comes first? Like, what's going to go on with this team?
So my personal belief is I think Ron Rivera has the keys, man. Keys to the castle. I don't think he's going to get fired. He hasn't
earned it though.
He hasn't. I agree. I mean, I agree with you. We'll go this whole full circle. I think Ron Rivera at the time when Jay Gruden and Bruce Allen, all this crap was going on, we were like, we needed someone stable, right? And I think we were kind of lucky to get Ron Rivera because he was a proven coach who's kind of been around for a minute. I think he has the keys to the castle. I think he's going to call the shots on whether the coaches are going to get fired. And because of that, I don't think Ron Rivera is going to fire anybody. I think Ron Rivera is too loyal. He's too loyal. He's too loyal. He cares about his people and cares about their families, which is a respectable thing. It's kind of hard to say that, but he's not going to fire them to the end of the year. Because I think Jack Del Rio might step down or walk away because there's so much negative energy kind of floating around him. I'd be surprised if he returns next year. I see Ron Rivera staying as long as he wants. I don't think he's going to get fired unless there's a total washout. But it's whatever, 1-16, 3-14, or whatever the hell. If it's a debate like that, if he loses the locker room, then potentially he could be removed. But I think Rivera will stay. When going back to Rivera, I said over and over again, he's a transitional like coach, right? Just almost like when you have like a veteran like quarterback and you draft a rookie in the future, like he's a placeholder. He's not going to take us to that next level. I honestly, I'll say that right now. I love the guy. I think he's a good human being. He's never going to win us a Super Bowl in DC. It's not going to happen, right? So I think what's going to happen is, hopefully we get some young up and coming coach, offensive coordinator, something like that kind of takes that team to the next level. But I am happy that I do think that he is. It doesn't look like it right now, but I think there has been a lot of positives, right? He kind of like flushed out the old age group of the team. It's a younger team. There's the seventh youngest team in the NFL. We're starting to get more respectability, but I don't know, man. We'll see how it all plays out. I think he's not the guy, but hopefully he'll pivot to the guy eventually,
Yep. Live Wire Sports and Entertainment bringing up his opinion here. QB would be first, and maybe coach. But Ron has a track record the last years, I think he was trying to say, was iffy. Now if Ron stays, Turner and Rio would be gone. I mean, yeah, we might see a coordinator change at least. At least I did appreciate his honesty, though, when he was interviewed by JP Finley earlier this week. He mentioned how, when JP Finley kept asking him, like, will we see a change? When will it be time? Ron Rivera's like, we're getting close, to be honest with you. That's literally, those were his words. So, I mean, I do appreciate that, but man, I just want to win. I just want to win. I don't even want to. Yeah.
I think it's almost, unless we start ripping some wins off, I think it's almost inevitable that there will be a QB change. I think we're going to be mindful of our second round pick. I think Wentz, I think the tipping point's week 13. So basically,
I'm sorry to cut you off. Right? That is a great point. That is a great point that I don't think is being talked about enough. Like,
okay, yeah, I'll touch on. Yeah, I'll touch on it. So basically, like, I think it's 70% or 75% of the games, whatever that tipping point threshold is. Week 13 is that threshold, right? And essentially, I think even if we're like hovering around 500 or below 500, that might be the pivot point to get rid of, to bench Carson Wentz because you don't give up that second round pick, right? Then, and if you're being prudent and smart, you would put Sam Howell in at that point to kind of see what you got for about a month. And then basically you can kind of look at that to be like, hey, you know what? Like, can he play? The Sam Howell worth investing in. If not, you start diving deep into the whole quarterback class and kind of working your way backwards and maybe draft a quarterback next year. But I don't know. I'm telling you right now, people are going to hate on me for saying this. I don't think Sam Howell's the future. I don't think that. People are like, oh, he's going to do it. But like, dude, if he fell to the fifth round, like, he's undersized. People were kind of like, oh, like he's 6'1", 220. People are like, oh, like he's just as big as Aaron Rodgers and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, like Aaron Rodgers is a gifted golden arm, like one of the better like quarterbacks of all time. Like, he's like and he's 6'1" his listed like height and weight. Like he's small in person, man. He's not like Carson Wentz 6'5", 240, but I guess at the same time, what's that height and weight doing right now? Is it really producing?
Thank you.
Yeah. So maybe Howell is that mobility and that toughness can do something, but like I wouldn't put my eggs. Like I want to see tape of Howell before I make any decisions on him for the future.
Thank you. Because like one of the last points you just made there, 6'5", 240. I don't know what it is with these fans, but they love to just talk up. And, I get it. I kind of do because at least with Carson Wentz measurables, even the team was talking up his measurables, right?
Yeah.
But like all these athletic, I like, and then the workout videos from like I don't care. I just want to see these players produce. If I see you, Carson Wentz, get traded from two different franchises, 2 different years, right? You were playing for the Eagles. I mean, that turned sour at the very end. Colts turned sour. And we can say whatever we want about the Colts quarterback situation. At the end of the day, I mean, they traded away picks, I should say, to get Carson Wentz and then traded him away. Literally the offseason right after. The writing was on the wall. I'm sorry for Carson Wentz. I have to say it. Great person. We got to meet him during OTAs, I believe. Great person, it seems like.
Yeah, he's really nice. He's a really good down-to-earth person. Quick question for you. Well, before we pivot to something else, would you rather have Russell Wilson or with his contract, or would you rather have Carson Wentz with his So think about the whole true opportunity cost, right? Russell Wilson, the trade package, 2 first-round picks, 2 third-round picks, a second-round pick, a $200 million contract. Or would you rather have Carson Wentz for what we traded up for? What would you rather have right now? I know my answer. I can drop it if you want, but think about it. Go ahead.
I would say, so with all like the situation, we're considering everything in the situation. The draft picks given away, the amount of money, Russell Wilson not playing well, white, and really the last couple of years he's been on the downswing. I might go with Wentz.
I see Dave saying in the chat. You said that too. Like, go ahead.
I will say Wentz. I'll say Wentz. Sorry.
Russell Wilson is going to, potential Hall of Fame player. He's a great, he's iconic, a legendary person for this past generation. But when you look at the opportunity cost, I think I'd rather have Wentz. And like Wentz, we traded away a 3rd round pick, potential 2nd round pick next year. The one thing that people like the national people don't realize is that 3rd round pick that we basically traded away for this year, we got it back. We traded back for from I guess it was pick 11 or 12 to back to 15 or 16 to get Aaaand Dotson. We got Brian Robinson in the 3rd round. Like we basically got that pick back. So truly, we lost a couple spaces here or there, but for the most part, we got a 3rd round pick. Potentially that 2nd round pick is pretty dangerous long term, but like. Carson Wentz's contract is also pretty desirable too. You can cut him this year, and basically there's no long-term effects from it. It's a clean cut. So like we threw a dart, it didn't work. You can hit the reset button; it really isn't a problem. But like Russell Wilson, I love the guy, but I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's 2 1st-round picks, 2 2nd-round picks. I think it was like Noah Fant and another player, and there was like a huge package plus a $200 million contract, and Russell Wilson has not been playing well, so we kind of dodged that bullet too. That's even more deflating for Denver. Like they're playing live right now. I wonder what they're doing. Like I'm gonna look it up while you're talking, so I want to see how Russell Wilson's playing right now. Yeah.
I mean, I hope they're doing well. I mean, I got 2 guys on my fantasy team, 2 different teams, but from
I got Cortland Sutton playing is what I got.
Same.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do want to get George though to this Titans matchup because. There's a lot to unpack here. We'll hopefully won't spend too much time on this, but first and foremost, I mean, I gotta ask George. This is the first thing, right? Will our defense be able to contain Derrick Henry?
I think so, man. I'm a realist, dude. I had us losing to the Eagles, had us losing to the Cowboys. I think our defense has stepped up. The Cowboys coming into, I think like right now, I was looking at it over the past 2 games. Al Gaudi tweeted this out. The Commanders' run defense is 6th in the NFL for DVOA. It's actually doing pretty damn well. And we shut down the Cowboys. Like we have, Pollard. Pollard's a pretty explosive player. Ezekiel can always fall forward. We shut them down both pretty well. And the Eagles, like historically, have had an awesome dominant run game. I think Miles Sanders is top 5 in the league right now in rushing yards. We kind of shut him down a little bit too. So I think we'll sell out. I think we'll sell out on stopping the run. I think we'll slow down Derrick Henry. Great players get theirs. He might get a touchdown. He might get, one big run or something like that. But like that's going to be the game plan. I did some film study. I had a great guest from Locked On Titans on my show the other day. I think, if we can stop Derrick Henry from running and put the ball in Ryan Tannehill's hand to win the game, I think it plays favorably to us. So we can kind of win that way. So I'm not as negative about this game as I have been in other ones. So I do see a little glimmer of hope.
See, that is completely fair, especially with the way our rush defense has played last couple of weeks. You mentioned like Jalen Hurts, and we've been able to contain him, and really the last couple of offenses right on the ground. But Derrick Henry is a different.
He's a rare breed, dude. He's a rare breed. He's an animal, dude. Yeah.
Different. Yeah. I mean, rare breed is probably the best phrase to use here. Derrick Henry, he started off slow. Everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, he's entering his 28 season. Maybe he's on the decline." Last year, he had a major injury, yada, yada, yada. Derrick Henry is still Derrick Henry. In my opinion, he's the best running back in football still. And yeah, I mean, we're going to have our hands full for sure. It would have been dope to have a Darian Mathis.
That would be 100%. And I don't know how deep we're going to get into this matchup, but I watched, like I said, I watched him film, talked about it. The Titans' whole offense runs through Derrick Henry. It's run, play action, play action off of Derrick Henry, and he's been catching the ball a lot more. I believe they got like an offensive consultant to kind of work in conjunction with offensive coordinator, and they just do like a lot of like dump offs and screens to him. So it'll be like run, third down is a play action. I'm gonna throw a little screen to him now. I'm gonna do a play action check down to him. Like Ryan Tannehill, there's no vertical threats in the Titans offense. And like, I shouldn't be saying that because Washington makes everybody look like a vertical threat, but they don't have it. They don't have anybody. Like it's the name of the game. Their offense is Derrick Henry running, and then it's Robert Woods. They feed Robert Woods a lot in the passing game, and they throw their tight end. They don't like Treylon Burks is actually out this game, which is he's supposedly out. So that's a potential plus for us. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how shit goes out. What do you think?
Yeah, I hope Robert Woods doesn't go back to being, his old Rams self and just
it's a good stream in DFS, right?
I mean that's facts. That's facts.
It is a fact right now for sure, man.
Yeah, no, I mean that was gonna be my next question too. Like I get it, Treylon Burks is I think doubtful right now, so he's likely gonna be out from this game, which is a big loss for them. I don't care what the stats are. He's a first round pick, I believe, for the Titans, or a high pick receiver. Or he's playing against the Commanders defense. It's a big loss for the Titans.
always, yeah.
But Ryan Tannehill, I mean, I don't know about it. Like sometimes he has great games. Most of the time he doesn't. Like, will he have one of those great games against us? Right? That's the only thing that really matters.
That's the $1 million question, man. Like Ryan Tannehill is like Jimmy Garoppolo. He's like that Alex Smith, like young Alex Smith. He's like that. Yeah. Like I watched him play. I watched the last 4 games. Whatever. He's highly efficient. That's one thing that's going to drive us crazy. He'll be like 11 for 14 for like 70 yards. It's just very annoying. It's like 3 yards. But he's like his ticky tack. He doesn't take any shots, but like he'll just stab, and then eventually get a touchdown. That's how it works. I kind of have a little bit of bias. One of their tight ends is a Conquo. I don't know if you know who that is from the draft process. He's a University of Maryland guy. He was like a height, weight, speed guy. He was actually the Terp, and like he's pretty damn good. So like he had a touchdown last week. Robert Woods had a touchdown last week too. So they're like he's throwing touchdowns, but they're like Derrick Henry gets down to the red zone, then you're within the 15-yard line. There's a little tight end something. So that's what we're looking at. So, and our linebackers are weak. So I don't know.
Yeah, and it would help in terms of our chances against the Titans passing offense, especially is if our pass rush was up to par. If Montez Sweat,
where is he, dude? What's going on, man? Yeah.
I think there's like I saw a missing poster like on
that milk carton with Montez Sweat on it.
Yeah, Montez Sweat on it. I mean, I saw a tweet as well. I think today or yesterday, this person said, "Oh, for all this talk about Chase Young being the bust on this defensive line, Montez Sweat, man, Montez Sweat."
Tough. And it's
another take that I was wrong on. I thought he was gonna be good this year.
Dude, that's a guy that I love. I've been on any channel that I go on. I always go on opponent channels. I always go like, hey, Eagles content, whatever. Hey, George, tell me a player that kind of you're looking for. It's gonna be that week, man. Montez Sweat's gonna blow up. It's gonna be that week, and like he has it, man. And I don't know what's going on. Like I put a tweet out the other day. It was like I think Jonathan Allen has 2 sacks, Payne has 2 sacks. Jonathan Allen's second in the whole league for tackles for loss. I don't know if you guys know that or not. He has 7 tackles for loss. He's having a great season. But Montez Sweat has not registered a sack. Believe it or not, Jamin Davis has the most amount of sacks on our team with 3. So just kind of a funny, weird year. And it's like, dude, I want when you watch him, like, I don't know if you actually went to training camp, like he is a specimen, dude. He's like, you look at that guy, and like, dude, that guy is built for speed. That guy's built to be a pass rusher in this league. And I just don't know why it's translating. Maybe it's because people are chipping him and realize that, like, Casey Hill and Smith Williams are not a threat on that other side. So maybe they're sliding protection at him. But, besides the Jaguars game, he hasn't really even threatened a quarterback. You don't really see him in the backfield that much. So I don't know, man. We'll see how it goes. But, like, he's got to do something. And maybe when Chase Young comes back, it's more of like a, it's more of like a balance. He can kind of produce more, but it's not looking good so far.
But even then, Chase Young comes back and Montez Sweat starts doing good things. I mean, that still, in my opinion, goes back to maybe him being overrated by this fan base, right? Because maybe it's more of a Chase Young thing. Well, I'm not even – I don't know. I'm like, George, I'm not high. I'm really going to be honest.
Be honest.
I've liked what we've seen out of Daron Payne. I think he's having a better year than I thought he would be having this year. Jonathan Allen, I expected greatness from him, and he's continuing to be great. But I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm not super confident about either of our edges. I know Chase Young's number 2 overall pick. He had 1.5 sacks through 9 games last season. I can't forget about that. Like, that's sacks fair. Are the name of the game as an edge.
That's fair analysis, man. That's true. I agree with you 100%. I love Chase Young. I want Chase Young to be that guy, but he's not that guy, and he hasn't been that guy. I think that's where the criticism is with Sweat versus Young. People are like, oh, Sweat's kind of a bust. Sweat's had like 9, 7. He's he's had like some, borderline almost about to have double-digit sack seasons. The high water point for Chase Young is 7.5 sacks, and they kind of threw us a bone for I think it was almost like a media rookie defensive player of the year. I guess I don't know. His rookie year it was okay. I don't think it was like a game breaker. Yeah, to be honest with you, right? Aiden Hutchinson got 3 sacks a freaking first game or a second game against us.
George, am I the only one? I'm old enough to remember the Washington Post putting out an article in late November. I think it was mid to late November of that year. Chase Young's rookie year, saying, is it time now to call him a bust? I'm not going to say that was a great article. I thought that was definitely premature.
And he got crushed for it, too. Our family so went nuts. I remember that. It was crazy. It was a Twitter fire. But go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, he started off terribly in 2020 before, catching up and doing some great things. Obviously, the 49ers return fumble for a touchdown comes up in my head.
That got him, though. That's why he got rookie of the year. If he didn't have that play, that's an iconic play that when the voters were going through it and we made the playoffs that year, it's it was a storyline.
The Bucks goal. No. That was in the postseason.
Bengals when he hit Joe Burrow. Yeah, and he fumbled at the end, and that was a big one too.
Yeah, I meant the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the goal line stop, I think it was they had 4 tries on the 1 or 2 yard line, and we stopped. I'm just thinking of moments from that. Yep. But yeah, 7.5 sacks. 7.5 sacks. Again, that's Montez Sweat. That's what he should be doing. Right?
I think that's what he's talking about. I could be wrong. I think Hawk, are you talking about Montez Sweat averaging 7.5 sacks? I think that's what he's talking about. And that's what I'm saying. 7.5 sacks is decent. But that's not a first round pick. Montez Sweat, he was supposed to be a top 10 pick coming in, but I don't know if you guys remember, had a heart murmur and heart issues that they were kind of worried about. But dude, I don't know. Young averages 7.5 sacks. What 7? Nah, because 7.5 plus 1.5 is 4.5, right? He only has over 2 seasons, so I don't know. But yeah, Hawk, look up Montez Sweat sacks because we're kind of in the middle of talking. I'm curious what Montez Sweat had over the past couple years. I think it was 9, 7, and 5 maybe or something like that. Yep. Yeah, something like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, 7.5. No, number 2 overall pick in the entire draft. I'm sorry, that's not going to cut.
Oh, he said he said if he averages 7.5. Okay, that's what I missed. I thought he said he is averaging 7.5. I think no, for number 2 overall. For a number 2 overall pick, you were getting sacks in the teens, 13, 14. That's what we should be getting from him. So,
at least double digits. Yeah.
At least double digits, especially in a 17-game season. You got to get that, man. And you have to have a couple games that pop, a 3-sack game, something like that. You need something like that. And we haven't seen that consistent explosiveness yet.
Yeah, the defensive line change, or whole situation. Sam Mills, we thought he should have been fired much earlier. That maybe might have affected their pass rushing skills, but that's no excuse. Come on, what are we doing on our edge? Our defensive interior is holding up their end of the bargain, but
they are surprisingly. I've been kind of down. I've been down on them. Whenever I go on cross division podcasts, your defensive line is dominant, blah blah. I'm are they they kind of get a lot of hype because they're first round picks, but they haven't been dominant. But now they're fine. This is one of the years where they're kind of coming into their own. And I know the hot debate is, do you keep Payne or Sweat? Payne was dominant during training camp, man, and Payne is dominant now. The hard thing is the edge. It's such a premium position, though, man. That's the hard debate. For me, you can get defensive tackles every year, especially run stuffing ones. A pass rushing defensive tackle is special, and Payne's becoming that a little bit now. But I don't know. Go ahead. What are you gonna say, Natty?
No, 2 things on both sides. With Payne, contract year, maybe that's why he's playing the way he is. But then on the premium position point, I think that only adds the argument not to choose Montez Sweat because he's probably going to still command top dollar on the market.
That's true. He's going to be overpriced. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I agree with Hawk TV here. But okay, so I do want to ask you though, who do you think on our offense? Well, one, thoughts on Carson Wentz in this game. And also, who do you think on our offense will step up the most with Jahan Dotson being out? And maybe B-Rob might be that guy for you. Who do you think on offense will be that guy for us?
So I do think B-Rob's going to play. B-Rob, from everything you've read, even it seemed like he was kind of for lack of a better word, 2 weeks ago, he probably could have played. It seemed like physically he was there. I like what they did, man, because again, mental trauma, mental health, this guy got shot twice. It's really, our media, like the best part about the whole, like being on the NFI was you couldn't, I don't know if you knew this or not, but he was logistically not allowed to be interviewed for 4 weeks. And like, that's actually awesome. It keeps you 1 month away. Nobody's asking you questions. You're rehabbing on your own. You're not getting attacked. And that actually, like, that's for long-term mental health. That's awesome that Ron Rivera did that. So it's kind of good that he's coming back for week 5. I think he is going to play, and I think he will create another element, but like, I have a feeling, man, maybe it's just pure, this is like, pure intuition. I think it's gonna be a Terry McLaurin breakout game, and I think they're gonna start feeding that guy. I think he's pissed behind the scenes. He's like, dude, you haven't fed me in the first half of the past couple of games. I'm the captain. I'm doing the right thing. I think
Diggs has played him well. I mean, now it's several matchups, right? I mean, 2020, we all remember him leaving him in the dust, but
yeah, Diggs shut him down. I hate to say that, but he did, man. He shut him down pretty well, and it was like, I wanted Terry to score him so bad, but like, it wasn't great throws, and the kind of setting, it was set up for Diggs had a pick, a couple of pass breakups. He had a great game, so tip the hat to him. But like talking to the guy from Locked On Titans, he even said it. He's like, the pass defense for the Titans is not good. Like, their secondary, you guys have the advantage. Like, your wide receivers are better than our cornerbacks. So I honestly think they're going to work really hard on the offensive line. I think they're going to give Carson Wentz time, and I think they're going to start distributing the ball well. So it might be like a Logan Thomas game, but like, I think Terry McLaurin's going to break out, and I think Washington has a shot, man. I actually like, I don't know if you've seen it, but we have like a little predictor. I'm not going to ruin it yet, but like, we have a little predictor for like me and Rio and Big Doug and stuff like that. And I was actually surprised. I was surprised on myself with what I picked in this game. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, okay. I don't mean to push back, but I saw the predictor last week, and
I said the Cowboys were going to win. Peep it, dude.
No, I know. I'm not saying you. You just mentioned the predictor and mentioned like how there are a bunch of content. And I'm just saying I remember specifically seeing that on my timeline and seeing a lot of Commanders and wondering, why are we predicting them? This team does not deserve the benefit of the doubt. But
so I'm behind the curtain. I saw the whole dialogue of why they're picking why. I'm like, dude, I told them, like, dude, you gotta think with your head, not with your heart. Like, no, and they were like, dude, we're due, man. We're due. It's gonna happen. I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. That's why I picked the Cowboys. I always do what I gotta do. And no, I don't not like Kenneth Fuller. I don't know where that's coming from, but I think Kenneth Fuller's.
I think he's just messing with you.
I'm gonna say Kenneth Fuller's like maybe he sees the tweet that I say about Kenneth Fuller. To be honest, but go ahead.
No. This is great, George. Another take that I was wrong on. I meant this one. I made an actual video saying we gotta. I forgot the title. I think it was something about like we gotta start giving Kendall his respect, or the forgotten guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I was basing that off of PFF last year, and also second half of the season he ended up strong. Like, I'm talking about eyeball test and top 5 corner by PFF. But man,
dude,
one of the best corners of the league with William Jackson this year.
I don't know if Hawk Falls be on Twitter. I'm pretty sure he did. I think we interacted a couple of times, but like, maybe he's seen my tweets. Pull up my tweets. I've never been high on Fuller. I always said he's a B. I think he's a solid B. People talk about him like he's like a shutdown corner, a CB1. He's a good number 2, maybe number 3. I don't think he's elite at all, and I think he basically gets cooked a lot. And I saw the forgotten guy. I thought even going back to the preseason, and I'm old school. Maybe I'm old school or whatever. But I was like, I thought we kind of blew off the preseason, man. I was like, we didn't take it seriously. We didn't practice enough. Our starters didn't get enough reps, and me and Rio kind of went back and forth. Rio's like, dude, the preseason doesn't matter, whatever. Like, dude, we look like trash. Our defense looked kind of suspect, and it rolled into week 1, 2, 3, 4, man. I mean, we gotta make it happen, dude. The league listened to Naughty.
I mean, Hawk TV, I have to even myself out, like the Kendall Fuller, the Terry, like these takes, right? You even them out with the Jalen Hurts MVP candidate when everybody in our fan base and around the NFL was trashing him. Like the John Morant take that I mentioned earlier. So it evens itself out. It's okay.
It balances, yeah.
Yeah, man. Oof.
I think. So let me say one thing real quick. So I think we'll see what the hell happens with the quarterback, and we'll see how the whole season plays out. I guarantee you, I'm telling you right now, it's October 6th. And I said this like a month ago. This is like our hot takes where I'm putting the flag down. We're getting a cornerback and or a offensive lineman in the first round next year. There's no question about that. People that might not notice it is that William Jackson has an out at the end of this contract. We can give him the boot. And I think he's owed $16 million. He has a $9 million cap hit. And I don't know if that's enough to kind of justify giving them the kick or whatever, but like, I don't see him being here next year, and I think we're probably going to go CB in the drafts. That's my perspective. But we'll see that's what I'm thinking, but we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I made a tweet about this last game, but I think it was this last game where I saw on one play William Jackson the third, Kendall Fuller right there in coverage. I forgot who was the receiver on the play, but it was a long play.
Right?
If CeeDee Lamb
and he pulled his shoulder
back, got called for a penalty. Two guys right there in coverage. I was so frustrated, George, when I saw. There were so many frustrating moments, but like two highest played players right on our defense.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And William Jackson doesn't know how to he doesn't know how to share responsibilities in regard like passing over coverage too. Like there's another like CeeDee Lamb touchdown pass where he's like untouched going into the end zone because he basically didn't give it over to Bobby McCain or didn't follow him out there. And I don't know, man. I mean, it's funny. Like you'd think that man is the harder coverage in the NFL because if you cover with shifty wide receivers, like William Jackson's a man cover corner, right? You zone, you'd be like because you're so good at man, you could probably react and you have the speed, you can do whatever. But like, it's just funny. He just has a tough time playing zone coverage. I don't know why. It's crazy.
Yeah. And Bobby McCain, I don't know why. I like Forrest and Curl, number 1 rated safety.
Curl's balling, dude. He's balling.
Yeah. But
Forrest is up there too, actually. Forrest is doing pretty well.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good young safety duo that we have back there. We still are finding ways to put Bobby McCain, Mr. two pick off of Jake Fromm last game this season. That's why I inflated my contract by $3 million. So
100%. Yeah. He better send Jason Fromm like edible arrangements, dude. Or something like that. Or something like that, dude. Yeah, it's a little gift basket for that. Good looking, dude. Yeah.
That's facts. That is facts. But my last question for you, George, this has been another fun stream with you, my guy. My last question for you with this game is, I got to ask, what is your score prediction for this game?
It's funny, dude. So I never thought, I was so negative last week. I knew the Cowboys were going to win. Actually, like people are going to hate. I put money on I was like on I have a bet US. I won money off of the game because I knew the Cowboys were going to win, dude. Going into this game, for some reason or another, I think the Commanders are going to win it. And people might be like, George is a homer, but like I do the research, dude. Like I think there's a glimmer, dude. I think if our offensive line protects, I think our defensive line will stop Derrick Henry enough. I think they'll do that. I think Washington can pass on them if they give Carson Wentz time. I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think both of the teams are going to have under 20 points. So what I want to predict, or you'll probably see it tomorrow, is Washington winning 20-16. It's going to be an ugly, low-scoring game. I actually had 17-14 at first, and I was like, you know what, like, I don't even think we're going to be able to score. Like, I was like, there's going to be a lot of field goals as opposed to touchdowns. So I went to 20-16, and I think Washington's going to win. Like, and I think they might win them. Maybe this is optimistic. I think they're going to beat the Titans. I think they'll beat the Bears, get smacked by the Packers. I think that's what's going to happen. But if they lose to the Titans, like, freaking hold on, dude. It's going to be a wild ride for the rest. Falling to 1-4, it's going to be ugly for us. That's kind of where I'm at. But what are you thinking, bro?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is code red game. I think this is the game that's going to determine
a lot.
I mean, a lot. And I completely get where you're coming from. Derrick Henry.
He's a man.
Yeah. I mean, but our rush defense has actually been a strength thus far this season. Sorry. And St. Just has been playing pretty well as well.
Yes.
Three young guys right there. But I, like you, predicted a loss against the Eagles, a loss against the Cowboys. Did not predict a loss against the Lions.
Me neither.
I hate to say it, but I predict a loss against the Titans as well. 24-21. I think Derrick Henry is going to run, maybe not roughshod against our rush defense like has happened in previous years with some very good running backs, but I think he's going to have a very good game, a very good fantasy day for all those people who have him in their lineups. I also think we're going to make Ryan Tannehill look like a pretty serviceable quarterback, if not better, against us. And yeah, I mean, I could see it being super high scoring. I could also see it being super low scoring. It is, I believe, a game that will be, again, super important because we're playing the Chicago Bears right next week. If we
4
can
days
win this
later,
game,
yeah.
And I watched the Bears last 4 years, right up there in Chicago. I've never been high on Justin Fields, and I think that's definitely a game
100%
we will win. But like, we got to get through this matchup first, and I don't know. I'm sorry.
We can beat the Bears. We can be. Well, sorry to interrupt you. We can beat the Bears. I think Justin Fields is the first person ever, or like it's like him and Tim Couch or something. For the first 4 games of the season, he's completed less than 10 passes per game. Single digits is like 7, 8, 9, 7. He is not playing well. Like he's going to be replaced at the end of the year, which is crazy because I actually like Justin Fields. So it's kind of wild that he's doing so poorly.
I'm flipping my prediction already.
You got it?
I think 24-21 Commanders. You know what? I'm gonna do it to myself.
Just fine, bro. Yeah.
I think the one thing about Ron Rivera, at least in the last couple of years, is we've started off slow, but there's always that kind of game where we don't expect the W. Much like we don't expect the loss and we lose it, right? We don't expect the W and we find a way to eke it out. And I think this team is going to be hungry this week just because, again, we have Chicago coming up and it would be a good turnaround coming back to 3-3 after Chicago game. So I'm going to say it. Like this whole week, I kept thinking Titans are going to win. But I know I shouldn't be doing this to myself, but 24-21 Commanders. And if I'm wrong, I mean, 3 points I'm only predicting, right, in terms of our edge. So it is what it is. But man, yeah, we talked about this with Pedro last week before the Cowboys game.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Norman had at least one, probably two to three, like pretty good seasons for us before. Obviously, it's terrible. Just to end it off. But Will Jackson, I mean,
the one benefit about Josh Norman, for all the hate that people kind of give on him, he was a competitor and he freaking was a great run defender too. He would run up there and put his nose on the tag. I don't really see that. Yeah, you punch a ball. Exactly right. William Jackson had a pretty good run stop on a blitz last week, but for the most part, he's kind of like him for all the whole the pass interferences and stuff. And like, what's crappy is he's actually there every single time. He's there covering the receiver, but like he gets flustered at the catch point and always gets pass interference every time.
Yep. Shout out to George Carmi, my guy George, for another great stream. I think we're gonna end it off here. It's been an hour and 20 minutes of pure pleasure, just talking up the Commanders, talking about the Nationals and the Wizards at the beginning as well. This has been a great stream, George. Any last thoughts before we sign off?
No, man. First of all, I appreciate talking to you, man. It's awesome. And you and I just spitting it for an hour and 20. Time flew by, very comfortable. Like, I think we both, work off each other well. You definitely have to come on my show. And if you don't mind, I want to plug my couple of my items with everybody. That'd be awesome. So, guys, I'm George Carmi at GCarmi21. Hopefully you guys follow me on Twitter. I write for fullpresscoverage.com. I love to write. I also have my own podcast at Full Press Commanders. Definitely subscribe to that. I'm kind of like 1 year into the game trying to build up my channel. So definitely give me a subscribe. I really appreciate that. And hit me up on Twitter, man. I love talking football all day long, man. So thank you, Nadi, and thank everybody listening. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Make sure to link your, I think, at least Twitter on the description of this video. So guys, go check him out, George. Again, great creator, great writer, but more importantly, great person.
Appreciate it, bro.
We love to see great people win, and go support George as much as possible. Thank you guys so much for joining in the chat, lively chat tonight. Live Wire Sports and Entertainment, David DC, Hawk TV, everybody. Terry's our forgotten guy. I mean, that's true. That is true.
He is.
Thank you guys so much for joining Awesomeness Sports at the beginning as well. Appreciate all the support. As always, Dubs family, Redskins 007, Fight for Old DC. Everybody, appreciate all of you guys. And with that being said, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the DMVSportsZone channel, where we like to post fire content like this as much as possible. Also, go follow our Twitter page at DMVSportsZone, Instagram page, all lowercase DMVSportsZone, and our TikTok page at DMVSportsZone as well. It's been a great one, guys. Thank you guys once again for joining. Hope you guys enjoy Thursday Night Football, and see you on the next one. Peace. Hopefully with a dub on Sunday.
Hopefully, man.
Hopefully. Left hand up.
I love that.